Hey there, and welcome back to Gen X Grown Up. I'm George, and this is Bit by Bit. Nintendo's back at it again with another lawsuit, and Namco is going to go back to its arcade gaming roots, while MAME has a brand new update to include new support for a new chip. All that and more, right here on Bit by Bit. As promised from Dexerto.com, Nintendo is suing a Reddit moderator for $4.5 million, ladies and gentlemen, because they say he was advocating piracy. Basically, you can see right here, he says that there was a moderator that they say was allegedly accused of operating piracy networks that distributed thousands of Nintendo Switch games. So this was reported by VGC. You can go over to videogamechronicles.com and read the original article if you like. I found this one, so that's why I included it here. And of course, a link will be down in the description of this video. The guy in question, his name is James Williams, and he's known online as Archbox. There you go. He moderated a subreddit linked to Switch piracy. So it's not like he was hiding it, I guess. But Nintendo claims that he helped run so-called pirate shops that hosted unauthorized copies of first-party titles, so on and so forth. So here's how they get to the $4.5 million. The lawsuit says that he had 30 Switch titles at $150,000 maximum allowance per work. That's a total of $4.5 million, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't like how Nintendo uses lawsuits to bully people into, not doing stuff that they love with the systems. But kind of got to say the guy might have seen this coming. We go on down a little bit further. Apparently, he hasn't responded in court, so Nintendo is asking the judge to rule in its favor by default. There's a hearing that's scheduled for October 24th, a little bit later this month, and the court's going to decide if there's going to be damages imposed, what they're going to rule, so on and so forth. It's just what Nintendo does, but in this case, maybe they're not wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. All right, here's another one from our friends over at TimeExtension.com. Namco's first in-house arcade game is going to be released, and actually might have already been released because this came out on October 1st, so it's probably already out. It's called BG. Where is it? Oh, GB, sorry. And I found this article thanks to my good friend Marcus over on our Discord server. So if you want to go learn more about our community and meet all the fun people there and get interesting articles like this, please head over to genxgrownup.com/Discord and make sure that you join that crowd. So this comes from Toru Iwatani, the guy who created Pac-Man, as you all know. And this game came out first. This was the first in-house created game by Namco. And it's kind of like if you took Breakout and combined it with a pinball machine and you get GB. So here's some images of it right here. It's really kind of cool looking. I find it's really nice. Like, look at some of this. This is awesome. You can see here's the black and white images. There's the color. But very cool stuff. Anyway, of course, they went on later to do Galaxian, Dig Dug, so on and so forth. Let's get down to the nitty gritty down here. There was a couple of sequels, Bombi and Cutie Q. This is going to be released, or it's already been released. I keep saying gonna be, for $7.99 on the Switch and PS4, $10 on the Xbox Series XS, Switch 2, and PS5. Now, here's the one that throws me off. With an option to upgrade from the Switch or PS4 version. So if you spend $8 here, you can then upgrade to the Switch versions for $3. So if you do it that way, you're spending $11. But if you just buy it on those systems alone, you're only spending $10. So, go figure. I don't know. Math is hard, I guess. But anyway, cool little video here on YouTube to talk about the game from Arcade Archives, who are releasing this, or have released it. I keep saying that. They have released it already, but definitely, I think you should go check it out. I love pinball, I love Breakout, and I love Pac-Man and Namco, so, why not? It's probably worth it. And from howtogeek.com, MAME has a new emulator update that's out, and it now includes support for Windows on ARM, ladies and gentlemen. This is a really big deal. So the new version is MAME 0.281. When are they ever going to get to 1 point anything with MAME? It has been in the zero phase forever. Anyway, I know, just a silly little pet peeve of mine. Anyway, this is going to be for newer ARM-based laptops or mini PCs. So if you have like even some of those systems on a board, you know, those SoC things that are ARM-based that can run Windows because they have enough power to do it, you could run MAME on these directly now instead of having to emulate a Windows x86 system and then run MAME inside of that, which would, you know, introduce a bunch of lag and sluggishness and whatnot. So if you're an ARM person, now you can run MAME directly. Let's see. Team already fixed some subtle issues in the 64-bit ARM recompiler backend and even managed to eke out a bit more performance. Specifically benefits emulated systems that use Hitachi Super H and Hyperstone E1 CPUs, which means your retro gaming experience should be noticeably snappier overall. So very cool stuff. They've also got a bunch of other updates in here. Stuff for the Sony News workstations, IBM RTPC emulation, SNK Hyper Neo Geo 64. What else? We've got some stuff here. I saw some Donkey Kong stuff, I think. Yeah, here we go. GBA's Donkey Kong Country Swing has gotten some stuff in there. ZX80 and ZX81 has got some love in here. A lot of cool new updates. So if you're a MAME fan, go out and get it. We've got some links down here at the bottom of the article. There's the MAME download page. If you're a Mac user, you have to use the homebrew version and the unofficial formulae to download MAME, it says. And if you're on Linux, it's going to be available through your typical distribution software repositories and FlatHub. So there's links in this article. I'll, of course, have links to this article down in the description of this video. Let me know what you guys think if you're MAME fans or not. Okay, here's a fun article from Inverse.com. It was 40 years ago this year that Atari broke out the Indiana Jones game that I know and loved from my arcade games in 1985. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So really cool stuff here that they've got some background on when the game came out, some of its predecessors. I think down here, yeah, Temple of Doom was different because it had examples of digitized speech, and I'm highlighting this, but their highlight is white, so you can probably barely see it. Digitized speech in video games. Temple of Doom followed in the footsteps of the 83 version of the Star Wars arcade. You guys will remember that, the trench run scene and everything. Familiar dialogue into the action from the movie. However, those of you who have played it know that it's mostly the end part of the movie that's depicted in this game, but that's perfectly okay because it has the levels. One, you're saving the children. Then you're riding on the rail. Remember the whole cart thing and turning it left and right and jumping over the little hoops. And then the last part, you're going against Molam Ram to get the Sankara stones. Yeah, here it is. Molam Ram and nab the Sankara stone from him. So you don't get to see the stuff. I love the articles talking about the whole Cole Porter Anything Goes sequence at the beginning where Kate Capshaw is singing and they're all in that like disco diner place and he's running around trying to get the antidote and the jewel. Anyway, very fun movie. Even better game. It was ported later on to a whole bunch of home consoles, including the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. Became a bestseller there, and I can understand why. It was a very fun game in the arcade. If I see this at any arcade that I ever head to, or say one of those free play gaming conventions like SFGE, I always look for a Temple of Doom machine. And boy, I tell you, I don't always find one. They must be kind of hard to come by, but boy, if you can find one in the wild, it is an absolute blast to play. Anyway, just a fun little historical note talking about the game from 40 years ago that you probably would have missed if you weren't watching Bit by Bit. And here's an article from slashgear.com and Rip Van X over on our Discord server. He is always pumping new articles over to me all the time when he finds stuff. So he's kind of like my like research assistant, unpaid intern guy. He's doing a great job over there and I really appreciate it. But this is a list, and you guys know how I get into lists. 5 of the worst controllers ever made for a gaming console. Now, like I always do, I don't go look at the list ahead of time, so we're going to discover it together. This might take a little bit of time, but it's only 5, so we'll see how it goes. All right, first up, okay, the Xbox Duke. Let's see what they are complaining about here. Looked more like a radioactive cheeseburger. Controller was an absolute unit, colossal in size, with weirdly italicized face buttons. I never had an original Xbox, but yeah, now that you say it, unless this is some kind of weirdly image chat GPT thing, that those face buttons do look strange to me. And I guess it is kind of an odd. I just never had an Xbox originally. I had an Xbox 360. I got the next one out, and I liked its controller, still do. So it wasn't good for people with smaller hands. It was all but impossible to use. Okay, they came out later with the controller S in 2002. All right, cool. Okay, yeah, this definitely needs to be on the list. The Nintendo Power Glove. Wow, what a colossal piece of crap that was. But at the same time, very cool in its idea. So long before we had VR, as it says, and the Xbox Kinect, Nintendo tried their hand. That's cute. At motion controls with the Power Glove. Yeah, I never knew anybody who said that this thing worked well or enjoyed it in the slightest. It was very odd. Look, you had the control buttons up here, a little D-pad. Yeah, just terrible. I agree. That should be on this list. See what's up next. Oh, all right. Yeah, we got some fighting words here, Slash Gear. Intellivision disc controller. I'm not going to agree with this at all. I love my Intellivision, and I love that disc controller. To me, that was the predecessor of the D-pad. I mean, it had a lot more directions than it probably needed, but still. Let's see what they say here. Left a lot to be desired. Trend at the time was for controllers to have full number pads, akin to telephones, instead of an ergonomic design. They didn't even really know ergonomics at that time. Atari 5200 and the 3DO later on used number pad controllers as well, and they weren't easy to hold. Funny. I didn't have a problem with it. Maybe because I have big hands, but I never had a problem with this, and I loved it. Let's see. Adding to the discomfort was the Intellivision's other main selling point, so-called controller disc, which was just a 16-way D-pad. What are you complaining about? Just a 16-way D-pad? Shut up. 16 directions of movement were pretty impressive for 79. Yes, they were. Though few games utilized more than 8. Okay, I'll give you that. But still, that doesn't make it one of the worst controllers of all time. I'm sorry. I'm not going to agree with that one, ladies and gentlemen. You guys can write down in the comments below and tell me how I'm wrong, but you're never going to get me to say that I don't like my Intellivision disc controller and it's one of the worst of all time. Nope. Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller. Okay, I like the Resident Evil games. I never saw or had this, but yeah, that does look god-awful to play with. Look at that. The D-pad is up here. This just had to have been sold as a decorative piece. Nobody probably really played on this. Let's see, both the original GameCube and PlayStation 2 versions of Resident Evil 4 were released all inside a limited edition controller inspired by the chainsaw wielded by one of the game's most iconic enemies, Dr. Salvador. Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, while the chainsaw looked awesome, it does look awesome, especially the yellow GameCube version. This must be the PS2 version because they said it came in orange. It had the ergonomics of a chainsaw. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I get why they don't like that one. Let's see. What the Wu-Tang PlayStation controller. That does look cheap and awful. For the PlayStation? Wow. Let's see. Thrill Kill was set to be released in 1998. However, Paradox Development may have pushed the envelope a bit too far for publisher Virgin Interactive. The game was slapped with an adults-only rate. What in the world are we talking? I thought we were talking about a controller here. At least all of the work put into Thrill Kill didn't go to waste, since Paradox Development was able to retool the canceled game into Wu-Tang Shaolin style. Okay, which released in 99. So a year later, game took the mythology of the Staten Island-based rap group. Wu-Tang Clan built a fighting game around it. Part of the marketing, Shaolin style, a special edition PlayStation controller was produced. Controller based on the Wu-Tang Clan's iconic W logo. Yeah, I get that. Striking black body with bright yellow buttons. It's much better to look at than it is to hold and play. Okay, I mean, the buttons do look cheap. I can't imagine that it's got a good click feel to it. That D-pad looks horrendous. It does look like it would feel a little bit odd to hold. I don't know where you would put your fingers and thumbs on this. I mean, the thumbs you were going to put up here, but Jesus, yeah. Are those shoulder buttons at the top? Yeah, I kind of got to agree with you, Slash Gear, on that one. That one definitely looks like a bad controller. Pretty good list overall, except for the Intellivision entry. I think that's going to wrap it up for us, though, today. What do you guys think? Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll be back on Sunday with another episode of Bit by Bit. Really appreciate all the support. You guys write the best comments. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys again next time. Bye-bye. That's going to do it for the news making headlines in the gaming world right now. I am George, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll keep on bringing you the news bit by bit.